Hey, Koolaid man, are you actually filled with the blood of a sacrificial goat?
Oh yeah!
No, this is not what you think. The Heavy Magic crew did not sell their souls to an American drink mix company for sponsoring. Don't get me wrong, we would totally do that on any occasion, but today we're here for Koolaid in a different context. A way cooler one, I might add. Sorry, I just had to get that out of my system. Today's song is performed by a group formerly known as Band X that featured the legendary Udo Dirkschneider as their singer until 1987. Accept is without doubt one of the most inspiring bands German heavy metal ever brought forth. This makes it even nicer that they're still around and making clean music without compromise. Today's song is taken off one of their younger albums, Rise of Chaos, released in 2017 to be exact. It covers the horrifying story of a cult, blind obedience, and the death of almost 1,000 people that would eventually shape the phrase drinking the Kool-Aid to an equivalent to following a potential harmful order without questioning it.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid! Don't taste the holy water! Don't drink the Kool-Aid!
This song is written from the perspective of someone who just escaped from hell. A hell that might taste like strawberries, but hell nonetheless. In the lyrics' first line, they tell us how they run through the jungle. This jungle refers to the thick South American rainforest surrounding a small settlement in Guyana called Jonestown. Keep that name in mind, it's gonna be important later on. But for now, let's have a look at the next line. Here, Accept gives us a hint at the time we have to look at. Way back in 78 is actually not that way back as you might think. This actually refers to 1978, so all of this happened a mere 45 years ago. On with the next line. The People's Temple is not a building, but rather a religious organization that went out of their way to create the most ambitious crossover ever, as they fused the basic elements of Christianity with a communist ideology as a foundation for their beliefs. They also put strong emphasis on racial equality, you gotta give them that. The group was founded by a guy named James Warren Jones, and yes, that's why I told you to remember the village's name. If you ask me, naming a town after your religious leader is a major cult indicator, and would be enough of a reason to get the hell out of there. However, the People's Temple of the Disciples of Christ was kinda successful, having about 3,000 to 5,000 subscribers, which is 100-fold of what we can claim, so props. During their golden age in the 60s, they even reached out to like-minded politicians. And later, Reverend Jim Jones even received a Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award. So what, do I hear you ask, makes this guy the madman the song accuses him of being? Sure, naming a settlement after yourself and Christianity are both a bit delusional, but they surely had a point when they complained about the US political system and justice enforcement. Well, it's about to get real ugly now. In the beginning of 1978, more and more members of the temple, including their leader, moved to their socialist paradise in Guyana. On the 17th of November, US Congressman Leo Ryan paid Jonestown, officially known as People's Temple Agricultural Project, a visit, as he had suspicions that it wasn't all puppies and kitties down there. In his theory, some temple followers were held there against their own will, and apparently he was right. When he left the next day, several people wanted to join him. This, however, proved to be rather difficult, because when they had reached the airport, a killing squad, dispatched by the enraged People's Temple, closed in on them and opened fire. 5 people were killed that day, among them Ryan and some journalists. In Jonestown, the overall mood was already darkened by the fear of what Ryan might report back to the States. But the news of his death made it even worse. Afraid of legal consequences that represented the much-hated capitalist and racist American state, Jones had an idea. He proposed revolutionary suicide, as he claimed dying this day would be way better than slowly dying under the oppressive system they lived in. Sounds stupid at first glance, but also makes you think about that system. I assume this is what accept means by promise of utopia. Jones convinced most of the members to take their own lives by promising them that this way they would be remembered in history, really making their point, and that the United States would be blamed for pushing them this far. This worked well, as the group had prepared for these scenarios. So-called White Night rehearsals, also mentioned in the song, were held regularly in case the settlement was under attack. This is where the Kool-Aid comes up. Well, actually, it's rather unlikely that real Kool-Aid was used, but a great pot of water was stirred up with no-name grape-flavored drink mix in it. Wow, Accept even got the flavor right. But that wasn't the only powder added, as bags of poisonous cyanide and other lethal chemicals were poured into the liquid. The song is accurate when it says that a lot of people drank willingly, and children were also fed with syringes. Those who didn't want to die were forced to drink by armed guards. There's a 44-minute recording covering some of the drinking process, which features screaming and crying in the background, as well as Jones' so-called motivational speech. I've linked it below this video if you're interested, but please only listen to it if you're absolutely sure you're capable of hearing people die and absurd promises of the afterlife. I know metalheads are used to some stuff, but this is really heavy. Some temple members managed to escape, although I found different numbers reaching from only 5 to 80 people, so not quite sure about the 33 here. All in all, 918 people died that day, leading to the greatest loss of civilian US-American life until the 9/11 attacks. Jones himself took another way out. He was found with a bullet hole in his head, which was probably self-inflicted. With a great amount of their loyal subjects dead, the People's Temple ceased to exist after the events of November 78, and probably for the better. Now you know why drinking the Kool-Aid often means blindly following an order, without thinking of its consequences. Under the circumstances of the Jonestown Massacre, it's not even certain whether the deaths should be counted as murders rather than suicides, as Jones was manipulating and forcing people to drink the poison. Whatever it really was, I hope we can all agree that it's important to stand up for your beliefs, but it's not really fair to do it at the cost of 900 people's lives. The song is great, no doubt, but if I had one change to make, I'd adjust the tempo. Adding even more speed would really improve the hasty, disoriented, and scared-to-death escape through the jungle. It seems to be a bit slow to fully grasp the madness, but that's just my opinion. Accept has really done a great job on the lyrics, both historically accurate and lyrically appealing, especially the holy water metaphor in the refrain. I also think it's very difficult to write a song about an event as disturbing and yet very real as this, and Accept earned my respect for doing that with Kool-Aid. Hey there, thanks for watching. Now it's your turn to drink the Kool-Aid and blindly follow my order. Like, subscribe, and share the video. In all seriousness though, if there are songs or bands you want me to cover in the future, just hit me up. This is my second try at some more recent history. Did you like it? Or do you want me to go back to more medieval skull bashing? Let me know down below. See you next time, and until then, stay true.